Johann is the Chief Growth Officer, Head of Community and co-founder of Engager.app. He's also a Chartered Manager, Group Managing Director of Onpoint Accounting Group, a speaker and podcaster who is passionate about leadership, tech and software. In this episode, we spoke about how to bridge the gap between accounting and tech, some of the biggest lessons Johann learned in entrepreneurship, and how you can empower small businesses through software. Without further ado, let's go beyond insights. You're listening to Beyond Insights, your go-to podcast for all things accounting, business, and technology. And this month, we'd like to wish all our listeners a joyous festive season.
From unwrapping the role of women in tech to decking the halls with accounting and small business insights, we've got your holiday season covered.
This time of year, we're reminded of the power of collaboration and connection. We are grateful to be able to host such amazing guests from around the world.
This festive season, we'll be unwrapping new ideas to deliver solutions to some of the biggest business challenges, helping you plan for a brighter, more successful year ahead.
Warm wishes for a Merry Christmas, a joyful Hanukkah, and a happy holiday season to all our listeners.
Thank you for tuning in during this special season. Let's dive right in and go beyond insights.
Welcome, Johann. Thank you so much for joining me today. Super excited to chat. So to get us started, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey and where you are today?
Cool. My name is Johann. I wear several hats in my day-to-day life. So I am the managing director for a group of accounting firms called Onpoint Accounting. We look after about 700 clients, team of 20 of us doing that, and have been doing it since 2017 when I started out with just myself. I am also a podcaster, so I'm on Ask the Accountant. We do a weekly live show every Monday morning, and a few other different spin-off series as well. I've got a YouTube channel, and I am the co-founder for Engager.app, which is a practice management software in the UK.
Very, very many different jobs and hats, as you say. And yeah, I'm a big fan of your podcast. Listen to it every week, except for this week. I have to go catch up. But yeah, lots of interesting tidbits there. So yeah, what inspired you to transition from accounting to co-founding a software company? Very big, kind of, yeah, very different picture. I'm sure when you were doing accounting in the beginning, you probably didn't picture being part of software, or maybe did. Yeah, what was kind of the inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really, I've always made sure I carve out time in my diary to feedback and support and do beta testing and attend feedback sessions and be constructive with that feedback rather than destructive for softwares that I was using. And the plan was never to go into software, but Andy Wainwright, the co-founder for Engager, kind of collared me at an event we were both at, and he'd been trying to get into my diary for a while, and we went for a few pints afterwards after this event, and in buying a few pints he got into my diary, then showed me what he'd kind of built so far for Engager, and I realized actually it wasn't just another accountant that thought he knew best and thought he had a tool to solve it when no one else could solve it. He actually had a really good foundation. So I agreed to, I mean, I was only ever meant to work with him to help build out the pricing calculator aspect, because he knew I had a spreadsheet and some opinions on how you can and can't price and what's right and what's wrong, and the fact that ultimately I don't believe there is a wrong. It's got to be right for your firm. So we made sure we built a pricing calculator in there that would go from doing hourly billing right through to value pricing and stuff like that, and however much complexity you want into your pricing. So I was only ever meant to sign up, like be part of the team for that one little project. 2 years later, I'm there full time basically. 1,100 firms across the UK using it.
That's huge.
One of the biggest growing, fastest growing softwares out there. So I'm now in charge of, so my official titles are co-founder, head of growth, and head of community. So I look after all the accountants and bookkeepers. I'm their point of contact. If they've got ideas, they pass them on to me. If I've got ideas, I run them by them, type thing. Yeah. So, and here we are.
Amazing. I love it how titles work in a startup. I remember as well when I first joined, it's like head of education. I'm like, what does that mean? And then it's like, okay, cool, we're doing this other thing. And like the title kind of changes. But at the end of the day, you just do what needs to be done. And it sounds like that's kind of where you're at as well. Like, and it's exciting because you get to do what's like relevant and impactful.
Yeah, like everyone says, oh, how do you find time to do it all? And it's like, actually, variety is the key to life. If I was doing just one thing with one type of client or something, I'd be so bored and miserable. Like, I love variety. So, yes, I'm responsible for the growing and developing of Engager, but I've still got 150 client portfolio of my own in my accounting firm that I'm directly responsible for, and I do all the client management meetings. I've got an amazing team who do all the bookkeeping and the accounts and the payroll for those clients, but I'm
Mm,
a
mm,
client manager. I manage that relationship.
mm, mm.
Um, but yeah, like I just thrive off the diversity of my roles and going to conferences and whether we're exhibiting or I'm speaking, whether I'm podcasting, YouTubing, whatever I'm doing, I'm never bored.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think this leads in quite nicely to my next question. But I think all those different roles kind of bounce off each other and grow on each other. I think if you were just building software for accountants, but you actually weren't an accountant, running an accounting bookkeeping practice, it wouldn't be as valuable. So, but now I'm kind of feeding into my question. So, how did your background in accounting influence the design of your software and kind of, impact that?
So everything in the first 6 to 12 months was kind of built based on what Andy and I needed in our firm because
Cool.
we needed it, which meant other users needed it. Um, but for the last 12 to 18 months, Andy and I haven't had any say on the roadmap. It's all been from our community. So, yeah, there's
Amazing.
stuff I'd love our tool to do, but not enough of our community want it. So it doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
for sure.
So all of our ideas get listed on an ideas list, and every one of our users can go and vote on those ideas. And we prioritize, obviously, by through democracy, the most popular ideas. Now, every now and then, Peter, our developer, will go in and go, "Oh, that's a really quick and easy build. That little idea there, and I could do with a couple of hours off from this big project I'm working on. I've hit a roadblock." So yeah,
Mm,
we'll sneak the occasional thing in from the ideas list that perhaps isn't the most popular,
mm, mm,
but yeah, everything's dictated to us by our users now. It's no longer up to me and Andy and
mm.
what we need for our firms. Um,
No, that makes sense. That's such a cool way to develop. I think firstly, the source and foundation of like, building a tool that, solves accountants' problems because that's your client base. I feel like also as an accountant in accounting software, often I'm like, but this makes so much sense because I know, I think like an accountant, because I am one. And so I think it's really important to kind of be an expert in what you're building. But then again, yeah, to listen to your clients and actually know what they're saying because, as you kind of go more into the software space, you might become a bit more distant from the day-to-day pain points. I think you're managing not to because you still have a practice. But yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys listen so attentively.
yeah, and like, it's all well and good coming up with an idea for a feature, but how we execute that feature and how it's used and stuff, we have to work out, right, how would this fit into someone's workflow and day-to-day working life? So
Mm,
because Andy and I I've got a firm each still, and we still both work in our firms, we can ensure that it's like it needs to do this, this, and this to work for us and
mm,
in our firm. And if it works in our firm, it will work in the majority of firms because Andy's got a bigger firm than I. He's a bit less tech savvy than I am. So there's a nice blend of
mm.
needs and requirements there to meet.
Good like automatic user testing without even have to organize anything. Um, and yeah, I think it makes sense because often, I know when I first kind of joined software, it's like you have this great idea and you think, oh, it's so easy to do this. But the more you kind of become involved in the build, you realize actually this is difficult, or you might think you want this, but it's going to work better this way. So I think you guys, have that mix now, which is yeah, really powerful. Software is a different a different thing altogether. Um, cool. So then what were some of the unexpected challenges in merging accounting expertise with tech development?
I, Time mainly, and like we've got Peter, who's an amazing developer, and he builds in a matter of weeks what other people will take a team of 26 months to build, and still not get anywhere close to what Peter can deliver as a product. But it is now managing expectations of our users and going, yeah, we've got over 300 ideas on our ideas list. Like we can only do so much in one go.
Mm.
So it's managing expectations of accountants. And yes, we see the priorities, and yes, we understand why this little thing's really important to you, but you are one of 1,100 firms, and actually 900 of those firms don't agree with you as that is a priority. So it's playing in the politician and the negotiator role, really. That's what's become a real challenge at times, and herding the community and being, you know, maintaining them and ensuring that they're satisfied with what we're doing and stuff like that is, yeah.
No, it's important. I think when you've got a smaller client base, it's easy to make everyone feel that they heard and that you're listening to them, because you can, because there's so few of them. But as you grow, as you guys have, yeah, you can't build 1,100 ideas for everyone. So no, that's a challenge. Cool. So I think next up, I want to kind of think, you're obviously an accountant, you've got your accounting practice, but as part of the software business, you're also an entrepreneur. I think accounting practice is also an entrepreneur, but it's kind of a different zone. So what are the biggest challenges in launching your software company, and how did you navigate that?
So I think the biggest challenge for most people that I speak to when they're launching their softwares is getting people to give you their time to test and use it. And I get it, that is a challenge. Now, one of the reasons Andy wanted me on board was because I'd already got a personal brand and a following in the industry through my podcasting and stuff like that. So people knew I was tech savvy. People knew that if I recommended something, it's because I was using it myself and I trusted and believed in it. Now, the downside of that is when those softwares then let you down, or they change direction, or change ownership and management and leadership and culture and stuff. But as long as I'm using it and I'm recommending it, people know that there's a certain amount of trust and reliability there.
Mm.
So the fact that I was then facing, the face of this new software, it helped us no end overcome obstacles that other people in the market are really struggling with or have really struggled with. So yeah, I think it's just getting into the accounting and bookkeeping market is a nightmare, because although the person walking down the street might, if you ask them, oh, how do you think accountants and bookkeepers talk to each other? They probably go, oh God, no, 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 no. It's all really competitive, isn't it? Actually, accounting and bookkeeping is a huge community, and it's very, especially in the last 5 years, it's becoming more and more community-like. Like we've got 2,000 accountants and bookkeepers in our Facebook community, talking to each other, sharing ideas, answering each other's questions. There's no competition there. There's no, well, you stole my client and I stole your client or anything like that. And because it's such a close-knit community, trying to get in is a nightmare, because we're all very protective of our own personal brands and the industry's brand. But once you do get in, you're very warmly welcomed and you are adopted quickly if you've got a good product, etc. But at the same time, if you try getting adoption too early and the product's not fit for purpose, and you're doing like a minimum viable idea, or we're just trying to see if it would work, you will get ripped apart and spat back out. So it's very cutthroat, but the rewards are phenomenal.
Awesome. No, it makes sense. I think I also noticed that because when I was in audit before I came to SIFT, and in audit, you kind of, all you think about the world is there's a bunch of FMs in these big companies and there's auditors, and that's kind of like all you know. And then you leave and you're like, oh, you go to these, accounting events and you're like, oh, accountants are, I knew they were cool, but you see they're cooler. And yeah, there's that community and supportive. So really is an exciting world out there. I think students need to go attend those events more often, because I think they miss
Really,
that.
not all in shirts and ties. It's all hoodies, jeans, and shorts.
Exactly.
No one knows how to party apart from bookkeepers and accountants. Like
100%. Definitely. And so another question just on that is, what kind of gap was there in the market that inspired you to start this the software?
It's interesting because that kind of has changed over the years. So
Okay.
originally, first looking at it, I didn't see a big gap. I didn't see this becoming a big thing. It was just going to be for me and Andy and a few others that were silly enough to believe us and follow us and use that tool. um, but we kind of hit the market like 2 years ago, which in the UK was an interesting time. Like all of the big successful people for the last 4 or 5 years in softwares had been and kind of got sold up to the
Okay.
big boys, and cultures were changing, no more leadership, reduced development, increased costs, etc. So there was a wanting for something better from that point of view in the community
Okay.
of accountants and bookkeepers. Um, and when we went in, I was kind of going, oh, well, we're battling some big boys out there. Like we're going to be taking on users from other practice management tools.
Hmm.
But actually, what baffles me even to this day is we've got all these practice management tools and pricing tools that have been out there for 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. So I kind of went, oh, well, they've dealt with the spreadsheet issue. Like, we're just going to be taking, robbing from Peter to feed Paul type thing. Like, but actually, over 35% of our users are still coming to us from spreadsheets or nothing.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they haven't dealt with that problem quite as
Yeah.
big, quite as much as I thought they were going to. I was expecting 5% or less to be on spreadsheets,
Mm, mm,
and but no, like all of these solutions hadn't actually dealt with at least 35% of the market's requirements.
sure. That's
And
crazy.
we've not dealt with them all. Like there's still people out there that look at it and go, you know what? I'm just going to stick with my spreadsheet. I'm going to retire in a year or two's time. I don't need this. I don't, or it's just me and my little clients. I don't need to worry about it. And that's fine. Each to their
Mm,
own.
mm,
But yeah, when we went into it, I was expecting us to be fighting for one software to get them into another software. I was
mm.
expecting that to be my main headache. And actually, no, as I say, 35% or more of our users come from nothing or spreadsheets. So that solution hadn't been solved quite like I thought it had. And I suppose we all live in our own little echo tunnels,
Yeah.
don't we? There it's like echo chambers where we only know what we know. And
Mm,
actually, just because everyone I knew was using practice management tool didn't mean
mm,
the majority of the, a huge chunk of the market were. Uh,
mm.
so hopefully we're putting a bit of a dent into that spreadsheet dependency.
No, that makes sense. I think I'm also often surprised as to how many people use Excel for consolidation still, because my auditing days, I had a few clients who were very big that used to do that, and I'm like, I don't know how you can do this. And when there's so many options, I think it's the same thing. It's like if you are a tech savvy accountant, you surround yourself with tech savvy accountants, and there's a group of people who are still using Excel. But yeah, that's really cool how I think also often when we start things, we think there needs to be this huge, blazing gap that has all this opportunity for growth. And if there isn't, we shouldn't start it. But what I'm hearing from you is kind of you got an idea, seems to be useful for you and a few others, like go for it and see where it takes you, instead of waiting for this $1 million idea to kind of fully formulate.
Yeah. Yeah. It was never meant to be the UK's number one fastest growing practice management tool, supporting 1,100 firms already, an extra. Yeah, we do 120 odd trials a month, and 50% of those convert every single month
Sure.
onto it. So it was never meant to be growing at this rate.
Sure.
But there we
Amazing.
go.
Yeah, inspiration to just go for it, just
Exactly.
start. Um, cool. Then obviously now you building this business. How did your accounting mindset influence the approach to growing this business?
So there's one specific area where my accounting mindset influences this, right? When you look at most softwares, they get loads and loads of private equity investment, spend it all, realize it's not actually gotten very many new users, then make loads of redundancies. That's not how you run a business.
Nope.
Only in the software world is that how you run a business, apparently. So we've not got a penny of private equity or investment whatsoever. We have done what most people do when it comes to a business is that the software people call it bootstrapping. So basically, you invest your time and maybe you put a bit of money in yourself to pay for a developer to build it up and stuff. And then as that money and monthly revenue increases, you grow your team. You spend more time on development. You do this, you do that, you attend events. but you run it like a normal business. Like you don't just, no one goes and thinks, I'm going to open a cafe. Someone give me a few million to open a cafe, please. And then
I'd
five
be
years
like,
later,
no.
how did I not make any profit on that? I had this huge team. I had the world's best coffee. Like you open the cafe yourself, you sell some coffees, you make enough money to have someone else sell some coffees.
Agreed.
Then you go, actually, I'm going to have a food offering because I've got enough money coming in to cover that now. And that you grow it like a normal business.
Yeah.
And that's how Engager has been grown is as a proper business.
Mm.
So yeah, so we are a lot more solid, and I think that is a tribute to mine and Andy's accounting minds. Like we're very conservative with our growth expectations, and we're very conservative about and on around cash flow and the importance of it, and that is our blood.
Mm.
You know, that's what pays the bills, the wages and stuff. So that's really
Mm.
important. But yeah, just running it like an actual proper
Business.
business has been a bit of a revolutionary thing for a lot of our users to look at and go, oh,
Agreed.
so you don't need to put your prices up just to pay your private equity people back. No, no, we don't.
No, I can attest to that as well. I think it's something it also boggles my mind when I see all these investments going into businesses that are like just starting out. And you kind of go look at what they have and you're like, but there's not much there. And I think maybe it's my South African mindset because in South Africa, there's, at least from my view, there's not all these people trying to throw money at you, you know? It's like you've got to build a business first. But I agree. It's like, I think also scarcity breeds innovation. So I think if you kind of work with what you have and you actually have to make a viable business before you can grow and build and it's sustainable. Otherwise, you've got this false sense of, as you say, like, oh yeah, we've got all this great cafe with all these employees, but no one's actually buying coffee. So no, I think that's very, very important for any small business to remember. So what advice would you give to an accountant thinking about venturing into entrepreneurship?
In software,
Yeah, or anywhere, I suppose.
we if you're going to go into accounting software, we're a very demanding, ruthless bunch, and we don't suffer inferior products very well. And if you build a great product and then it starts suffering, we won't suffer that. We'll just move. We're very vocal. If we're not happy about something, the whole world will be told on LinkedIn we're not happy about something. You know, I've I've certainly had my opinions on a lot of things. But so you do need a bit of a thick skin, but at the same time, the easiest way to get into this industry is that personal brand.
Hmm.
And people buy from people. Like ultimately, even Amazon, we're still buying from someone. You know, we all know Jeff's going to buy another yacht because I brought a new iPad off Amazon this week. Like we buy from people still. You know, people that buy Apple, we buy it because it's like Tim Cook and his team are visionary people allegedly, and you know,
Mm, mm,
we still know who we're buying from ultimately, even from these
mm.
big conglomerates. Um, so yeah, people buy from people. So be personable, be contactable, you know, just be you. Is my top bit of advice. But whether you're going into software or entrepreneurship in anywhere, in any role, people buy from people.
No, that's amazing and so true. And I think if you think of the traditional view of what an accountant is, kind of a money, what's it, bean counter, then that's not necessarily part of that skill set. But I think
It's not.
accountants today are very different,
Yeah.
and we have to be. So yeah, if you don't have that skill, sounds like we need to go practice. So then just a bit more about your software. How does it help small businesses like run their finances or kind of, you know, work more efficiently?
So Engager is a practice management tool that takes it from you get your inquiry and you put that into Engager. You send them a letter of engagement. We've got a built-in pricing calculator, so you create your price, send your letter of engagement, onboard the client, manages all your workflows, e-signing, client portal, time tracking. The functionality list is longer than both my arms combined. But yeah, like it's there to make sure you're more streamlined and effective, working effectively. Like for someone that has so many hats, I am the laziest person you'll ever come across. Like, why should it take me 5 clicks to do something? Why can't I do it in 2.5 clicks? Like, I want to be as efficient as possible. Now, I call it an effective way of working. My wife calls it laziness. So, like,
No, no,
why have you not emptied
definitely
the
not.
washing machine yet? Well, I know in 10 minutes' time that dog's going to want to go out, which means I've got to pass the washing machine. So I may as well empty the washing machine at the same time as letting the dog out. Otherwise, I've got to get up and down twice
Twice.
off the sofa. Laziness or effective ways of working. So I spend a lot of my time trying to make sure Engager delivers effective ways of working for the
Okay.
laziest person out there. Um, and yeah, so it means you've got more time to spend with your clients or
Mm.
your family or your friends, doing whatever, doing what you want to do, not sat there on a Sunday night going through your diary trying to work out whose VAT deadline's due when and whose accounts need filing this week. That's all dealt with for you in Engager.
Amazing. No, it sounds like everyone's dream. None of us want to be doing admin and all of that, like setup work, rather get on with actually the fun part of being an accountant. So do you have any like specific, client stories or testimonials of businesses that have benefited from your platform?
I mean, I think our biggest testimonial is like all of our users. Like, we've not spent money until this year on marketing,
Sure.
and like we're at 1,100 firms. The majority of all of that is word of mouth. And though accountants and bookkeepers don't shout and brag about you if you are not doing what you say you're going to do. So
Interesting.
that culture, that following, that brand, that's our proudest thing. That community that we've built around us is by far our strongest and most valuable asset, and it's our most proudest success, really, because we don't see anyone else doing it anymore. And those that were doing it originally have kind of stopped doing it now because they've gone a bit corporate and not the corporate board. The board meetings don't see the value in it, type of thing.
Mm.
Like we've got. I mean, it's technically me at the moment, but we have a job role called head of community. Like, because we
Mm.
want to make sure we've always got someone looking after our user community and feeding
Mm.
back both ways.
Mm.
So yeah, like the community is by far our proudest success and our biggest testament. Like, they will tell you how good we are or not. I don't
Mm.
need to stand there and with a megaphone or not. It's we always bear that in mind. So I was at the ICB conference a couple of weeks ago, and every exhibitor had to do a 1 minute pitch, elevator pitch on stage, and there was a big timer, there was a buzzer to start you, and then a klaxon at the end. And the moment you hit 1 minute, your microphone got turned off. It's like, right, how do you achieve? Like, people were going up, and they were doing okay. Some didn't do very well. I was just like, right. So I went up. I just said, cheer if you're using Engager. Half the room cheered. Cheer if it's
Wow.
changed your life. Half the room cheers. It's like, there you go. Doesn't matter what I say for the next minute. That's social proof, and that's the most
No, for sure.
important thing. Product.
No,
Uh,
100%. I mean, yeah, I knew our tool could do some things, but until another client said that and had done it, that's when people can really trust in it. So wow, yeah, to get that word of mouth, and as you say, to have grown so much without even really not trying to grow. Obviously, you're trying to grow, but not in terms of marketing and all of that. That's incredible. So I think, what is next for your software in terms of innovation or industry impact? And then as a second one, what's next for you? Because I know you're always up to a million things.
so what is next? We have just announced that we'll be launching company secretarial tools next year. February, we've got our first in-person event. So where
Oh,
we're
yeah.
our own event. So we're running Engager Labs in Liverpool. We've got 20 exhibitors, 850 users attending.
Sure.
Um,
Big.
very much our Apple keynote thing. We're going to tell everyone what's coming up and what
Ah,
state of the nation type thing, and got some great speakers. So yeah, lots and lots coming up, and it changes almost daily, like what's coming up, because we get some feedback, or a competitor gets sold out, or a competitor launches a tool, and we're like, oh, we were going to do that later. Let's change our priorities and get on top of this. So yeah, like constantly evolving, constantly adapting. So yeah, just watch this space basically for Engager, because we've got very exciting ideas. Like we'd love to go worldwide with it, but actually we need to solidify our UK product first.
Makes sense.
But as we do that, we're always building with the intention of, if we carbon copied this and put it into Ireland, South Africa, the USA, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, like how much would we need to change? And so we're building with the bigger picture in mind,
Picture.
but
That's
we're focused on the UK at the moment. So yeah, so that's that. What's next for me? Who knows? I wasn't expecting 2 years ago to get into a software gig. If I'm, I'm just very much one of those people that will go. I think a lot of people just have this. This is my vision. This is my plan, and they're blinkered to any other opportunities that come up. So if I had that 5-year goal and 10-year goal, it's like it would all be accounting firm focused, and I'd go,
for sure.
is Andy's offer to get involved in some software helping my accounting business? No, ignore it. Whereas I'm very much yeah, I've got some ideas of what I want to achieve, both in business and in personal life, but I'll take the opportunities when they come up. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, I started this business in 2017. It was me and the dog at home. It was meant to just be me and the dog forever. Like it was meant to be that, just as long as the business delivered the lifestyle I wanted, that's fine. But then it's grown, opportunities came up, then got married and bought a house, and yeah, all of that other good stuff. But yeah, so I don't have a 6-month, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. My mum very much always did, and bless her, she died in 2020. So like I kind of went, you know what? Between that and my dad getting diagnosed with multi-neurons disease in the same year, and they lived, everything was when we retire, when the kids have left home, and they'd only started really living for themselves just as she passed away. So it's very much a case for me. Yes, I've got an eye on the future, but I'm enjoying the moment I'm in now, because you just don't. I could go and walk out and pick up the post, and a bus hits me. I don't know what's coming up, so just I'm enjoying what I've got while I've got it. I don't get overly stressed about what may or may not happen in the future.
No, that's very inspiring and important to learn. You got to make the most of it. I also ask because I know you have a book that you just published, so you've become an author as well. I can see it in the back there.
I have, yeah. Yes.
So if anyone's looking for a Christmas gift, there it is.
That was one of those things that I never planned to do. So a couple of months ago, on a Sunday afternoon, I'd been answering quite a few questions about pricing on the Facebook group we've got. So I was watching the F1, and it was an absolutely boring race. It was raining outside as well. I was bored. So I started just noting down some thoughts to create like this free PDF guide we were just going to give away to add a bit of value to the pricing calculator. Theory being, get people a bit more sticky using it, and the more they use it, the more sticky they are with the software. With excellent, and if we put it on our social medias and websites, people might read it and then go, oh, actually, if you can do all of that in your tool, we'll come and have a look at your tool. So
makes sense.
So about 3,000 words later, by the end of that Sunday night, I had my 30-page PDF guide done.
Sure.
And then I've got a few more questions, and bits of it kind of kept burrowing away in my mind. And so I finally I started adding more notes to it, and this thing got bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's now like 100-page book, 13,000 words. And it's just like, for someone that's got told on his last day at school, oh, by the way, here are your exam results, and by the way, you're dyslexic. And it's like, oh, because again, I was just told from you're just lazy, you can't concentrate. Like, well, actually, no, reading and writing is just not my forte. So to write that book for me it was never something I'd ever expected I could have done. But it turns out when you're passionate and you enjoy talking about what you're talking about, and you've got plenty of knowledge and insight on it from all these different webinars and books and articles you've read over the years and speaking sessions you've been to and delivered over the years, it turns out it's quite easy to ramble.
Amazing.
So that's out, and yeah, it's just nice. Another little achievement, another LinkedIn box ticked off, isn't it?
So cool. I also love it. It's like teachers tell you couldn't, and then you just kind of showed them, so like proving you can do anything. But I do realize I'm running over, so I do have some rapid fire questions for you to end it off. It's a new thing we're adding. So I'm just going to ask them, and you got to quickly answer them back. So what's one piece of software besides your own or SIFT that you can't live without?
Copilot, Microsoft Copilot.
Oh, cool, good.
And combined, make my client management meetings so much more efficient.
Okay.
SIFT saves me time before the meeting, giving me conversation points. So I walk into the meeting looking informed to my clients. Copilot transcribes, summarizes, and pulls out action points after the meeting, so I don't have to do any of that myself either.
So efficient. I love it. Effective ways of working. Okay, second question. What's the best book you've read recently? And I'm going to have to exclude the one you've just written.
So many. There's one book that I read every year and have done since I started business. And it's Big Ideas for Small Businesses by John Lambert. Lambert, one of the two. But he's based in Plymouth in the UK. Some brilliant ideas, just a real challenge to the usual Richard Branson, Alan Sugar, this is how you run a business. It's like, yeah, maybe for you, but not for the average person.
Okay, that sounds like a good one. If you read it that many times and there's still more, we all better go read it over the December holidays. Okay, next up, what's the most valuable lesson you've learned about building a business? Deep one there.
Don't be afraid to take the first step. Like, you're going to be more successful doing the first thing, starting something, than you are ever planning it.
I like that. Just go for it.
There's it was the quote I heard the other day. Someone said, I heard it on telly, I think it was, there's 100% more movement in taking your first step than there is in thinking about it.
So
like,
true.
More progress just by taking that one step.
Yeah. One of our co-founders, Ellie, always says, perfection is the enemy of done. And I think it's a similar thinking. It's, if you're going to think and make it perfect, you'll never start. Okay, last one. If there's one thing you want listeners to take away from today's podcast, what would it be?
Just if you've got ideas and you want to do something, then give it a go. Don't be afraid of failure, because we don't learn if we don't fail. We've got plenty of things wrong in Engager, and we've learned from it. The trick is to learn from it and action that learning as quickly as possible, whilst being humble and going, hands up. Hands up. We broke Engager last week. How bad? But we've dealt with it quickly. We've moved on. Etc.
Yeah, no, mistakes will happen. It's how you deal with them. Makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Thank you so much, Johanna. I appreciate it. I took a lot of your time. It was awesome. I love chatting. I'll be listening to you next week on your podcast. And if you ever do bring Engager to South Africa, make sure you come say hi. But yeah, thank you so much for it. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners did as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. Thank you. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Insights podcast.
Please like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to right now.
And please share with any of your colleagues or friends or family members that you think might benefit from listening to this podcast.
That's all from us. Until next time, see you then.